So today I'm going to break down a TEDx talk by Andrew Schulz, one of the top comedians in the world. And the reason I chose it is because he has such insightful tips on how he was able to overcome challenges and roadblocks, especially in the world that we live in today. Whether it's the cancel culture or people trying to get their movements, their voice being heard. And he has inspirational words of wisdom if you're getting hate online, even though you're going after your authentic passion voice. Okay, so let's dive in and start watching this video and breaking it down.
Let's do it. I know we are here to talk about being bold and brave. I'd like to acknowledge something right off the bat. As a comedian, I am at the low end of the spectrum of brave, okay? I understand brave people are soldiers, firefighters, police, people battling terminal illness. Comedians are here, okay? K-pop dance groups around here. I want to talk a little bit about the shift in culture, what's going on right now with maybe political correctness and how that's affected my industry. Times have changed. We've got a lot more sensitive. Can you guys feel it?
So first off, I want to just say I love that he's tackling this subject matter about being bold and brave, because I couldn't agree more. And even though this was shot about a year ago, a little over a year ago, we still live in this world where so many people are just being torn down. And obviously there's justification for certain people that are doing negative things in the world. But we almost live in a world today where you can't say anything, even if you're trying to have a positive impact, without getting some negative backlash. Because I think it's critically important for all of us, whether we're trying to start a movement, whether we're trying to start a company or take our company to the next level, to really be bold and brave. We've got to push through a lot of the negativity that we face today on social media. This message, even though he takes a comedic tone with it, is so powerful and so relevant to everything that's happening in the world today.
When I was growing up and I got in trouble in school, which was a lot, I would come home and I'd tell my parents, Mom, Dad, the teacher doesn't like me. And my mom and dad would say, who gives a fuck? In life, people are not gonna like you. Figure it out.
So I think that this is relevant for not just comedians, and that's why I really wanted to share this with you. It applies to everything, but I loved the way that he expressed that he had grown up. It was the same way that I grew up. It was like, okay, this person doesn't like you, this happened to you, move on or find a solution to it. We are inundated every day with negativity, people tearing us apart, tearing me apart. I mean, I frankly have gotten 3 death threats in the past 3 months, and is that negativity easy to deal with? No. But understanding that it is a part of what we do. It's a part of being in business. It's a part of marketing ourselves and finding ways to cope and to deal with it and push past it. Now, the other element of it is because everybody has a platform, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, to share their voice, to share their message. And it's covered by the screen where you don't have to see the other person. All of a sudden, it doesn't come off like we're communicating with another human being, or how does that impact a human being? Because I guarantee you, if that screen was not between us and it was 2 people in front of each other, you would not communicate and say the same things in the same ways.
I had an instance recently, a girl had a seizure at my show. That's how funny I am. We checked on her, she was fine, she leaves, everything's good. So I started to make fun of what happened in the situation, and a girl in the crowd stood up, she's like, you can't make jokes about that, that's not funny. And I asked what she did for a living, she said she was an EMT. And I was like, why didn't you help?
I think that's such a great point, because oftentimes, and we'll see this even like on the negative comments on our ads, is oftentimes we'll respond and we don't get a response back. I think his response was incredibly fair, and I think it has larger implications than just what he's talking about. It's very easy for all of us to tear each other apart online, but like, what are you doing differently? Don't just rip it apart, but provide some suggested useful perspective to it. Or say, this is the way that I would go about it. Or maybe you should think about doing it this way. So when it comes to us, the way that we look at it again is, are you actually trying to enter into a conversation? If you are, even if it's taking a negative tone and you're questioning the why of what we're doing, by all means, enter into that conversation. We enter in that conversation. The reality of the situation is no matter what message you produce, what piece of content you put into the world, you are going to attract haters. You're going to attract negativity. If you're not, you're probably not reaching enough people. So first and foremost, be prepared for that. And all I can really say is authentically express who you are and what you're about and what you want to share with the world. But if you're putting something out in the world that you think is going to have a positive impact on somebody's life or millions of people's lives, go into it with the authentic voice that you want to share, but just prepare yourself that there may be backlash or maybe negativity that goes along with it. But I implore you, in the same way that Andrew Schulz has done, is don't let that stop you from doing what you're truly passionate about. And as I mentioned, some people may come to you with relevant comments or questions and challenging the way that you're expressing your message or your message or your product, your brand in general. Enter into that dialogue with them. Learn as much from them about how they perceive the situation and seeing if there's key takeaways that you can use to improve your level of communication. Because it should be about improving yourself. It doesn't mean that you absolutely just ignore every person that challenges you, because you can learn from that.
And you know why she didn't help is because this is what we do now. We complain, but we don't help because we think that's enough.
Again, hit it right on the head. There's so many people out there complaining, but not doing anything about it. There's people out there tearing people apart, tearing people down, and yet they're just sitting on their ass doing absolutely nothing.
I wanted to do stand-up, but the stand-up industry, for whatever reason, would never let me in. So I had to find a way around this blockade or whatever it was.
Now I want you to really listen to this, because this is where so many people get caught up in success, is he ran into a challenge. He wanted to be in that stand-up community and he was hitting roadblocks. But instead of just giving up, he's like, what is the best way around it? And that is such an important lesson that I've seen with the most successful people that I've been able to interact with and work with, is they will not take no for an answer. They will find a way to achieve what it is that they're looking for. And that's where Andrew's about to dive in, and I really want you to pay attention because I think it's extremely valuable.
Film this special, we shoot at 4 different comedy clubs in New York City. We get the cab rides in between, and we really dive into what a night of comedy is for a New York comic. Put it together, we cook it up, we pitch it to everybody. Everybody said no. Lowest point in my whole career. But it was actually the most valuable time in my entire life because I learned a couple things. One, adversity introduces a man to himself.
So I want to just point this out, is everybody's scared of the word no. And he hit a low point and he admitted that he hit a low point, but then he put it into action. Is there's so much that you can learn by somebody telling you no, and it can push you in the direction to make you even better. Because one could think, if Andrew got those yeses immediately, would he be as good? Would he be as popular as he is today? This made him innovate. It made him find a way to stand out amongst all the other comedians, amongst all the other crowd, to achieve the level of success that he has today.
Clothes for everything. I have to figure out this business. Something I learned in life is from nothing comes everything. And again, you learn these things later in life. Sometimes the lessons that happen in the moment, they don't hit you too much.
I love that quote, from nothing comes everything. And we often look at very successful people and we just look at the success, but we don't look at the trials and tribulations they went to achieve that success. So we may look at an Andrew Schulz, we may look at a Mark Cuban, we may look at a Jeff Bezos and say, oh, well, they're super successful, it was super easy for them. No, it wasn't. We all go through the road and the obstacles and challenges to become successful. So just keep that, and I would even implore you to write it down. From nothing comes everything. So if you are just starting out, or if you just hit rock bottom, you can build, you can have success, because no matter who it is in the world, their success came from nothing. They had to create it to build what they are today.
Kind of looking at the business and figuring out if I could hack it in some way. I've always felt like my competitive advantage in whatever I do is problem solving. So how do I solve this problem? I think you can learn everything about whatever business you're in by asking people who are not in that business. Oftentimes, we're too close to understand the problems that we all have. I asked my friends that watch stand-up what they were watching and how they liked it. And they would all tell me about the things they were watching, and then they would all say the same thing. Every single one would be like, yeah, I watched it, it was funny, but I didn't finish it. I go, that's interesting. Oh, it was funny, it was really cool, I like this guy, I didn't finish it. Nobody's finishing it. Okay, specials are too long. So I decided to take this hour special that I had, cut it down to 15 minutes, and put it out on YouTube, all right? We made this thing. I was really proud of it. I just wanted to get it out there in the world. It stopped becoming an outcome-based endeavor and just became something that I was proud of and wanted to share. Does that make sense?
So I think that is extremely important message. Is first and foremost, he took his creativity to reverse engineer how he could create success. And he studied the market. He studied other people that knew nothing about the comedic landscape, but he went directly to the consumer to create that market research, to understand how people consume this content. But also in doing it, in reverse engineering it and hacking the growth, he was doing it because he truly was passionate about sharing this content, sharing this message. It wasn't about being famous. It wasn't about getting rich. Is that he really loved comedy and he wanted to get his comedic talent, his message out to the world. The people that really want to do it, like Andrew, for example, will find creative ways to make it happen no matter what. If the door that everybody else has gone through is closed, he will go around the back and find another door in. And that's why it's so important to follow and pursue things that you're passionate about. Not for the fame, not for the money. Because when you hit these roadblocks, you hit these walls, these challenges, you will persevere and you will find ways around it to ultimately achieve the success that you're looking for.
We put this little 15-minute special out. Immediately that weekend, I sold out a bunch of shows in San Diego, and I was never a sellout guy. You know, I'd sell maybe a few tickets, but I never sold out, the club. And I was like, maybe that's a coincidence. Maybe I got fan base in San Diego. And I kept doing different tour dates in different places, and more people came out, and I was like, wow, maybe there's something to giving away this material online. So I started putting out a clip every week on YouTube. I was going to do it for a year. Every week I put a new clip out on YouTube, and these clips would start to go viral, and they would blow up in places all around the world. India, Bulgaria, Romania, Russia, obviously America as well. And I would start to sell out these shows, and it was crazy to see these people start to gravitate towards me. And my career kind of really blow up off of just putting out this material, and I realized something. I decided to break it up into these small bits and create tons of different ports of entry to me as an entertainer, right? And by doing this, we saw this crazy effect happen on YouTube where a person would watch one video and then they would be watching for the next 2 hours.
And one of the other things that I want to point out here that I think was so brilliant and even add an additional layer of why I think he was so successful is this concept of different ports of entry. Is he gave people multiple chances to come in through different doors to visit him. He wasn't saying, and this is the old way, is this is my single piece of content, take it or leave it. And if people leave it, then you're left with, okay, what do I do now? But the world that we live in today, and having digital and social platforms and the ability to distribute content yourself, is if you put out 10 videos, 50 videos, 100 videos, 500 videos, it gives you more chances to win. And most importantly, it gives you more chances to learn. So that's the beauty of what he did, is he said, I'm not going to rely on a single special. I'm not going to rely on a single YouTube video. I'm going to create as much content as possible and do it on a consistent basis through his authentic voice to find multiple ways to connect with people. And once he garnered that attention, let's just say he put 100 videos out into the world and only one worked. That's all he needs, because through that one video, if that generates millions of views, what he's saying is it brings people in to consume more. So what you've got to do is you've just got to test and find what is that single message? What is that single piece of content that can bring people into the larger conversation?
Best sleep I have every night is the 9 minutes I get when I press snooze, okay? I wake up, I'm exhausted, snooze, that 9 minutes is like, I could have just did that. I didn't need the other 6 hours, just let me snooze, right? I applied the snooze effect.
So with this mindset that we've broken down through Andrew Schulz's amazing video, it can be applied to anything. This doesn't have to be applied to comedians or just musicians, it's to any brand. Adapting this mindset of constantly testing, constantly learning, and also when you're presented with an obstacle, you're presented with a roadblock, or people are telling you no, if they're slamming doors in your face, that doesn't mean that you don't have something of value to offer. It just means that they don't see the brilliance that you have, and you have to find another door, another way in. And that's where the combination of having that mindset and this process of constantly testing and challenging yourself to find new ways of expressing who you are, what you're about, what you sell, will ultimately lead to the success that you're looking for. And it may not happen tomorrow. It may happen 6 months from now. It may happen 6 years from now. And that is the importance of doing what you're passionate about, your authentic voice, what you really want to share with the world. Because at the end of the day, it won't matter if it takes 2 weeks or 6 years, because you'll be enjoying what you're doing, what you're putting out into the world. In business, or whether it's social media, offline, online, whatever you're doing, I suggest you take this process of hypothesis, test, and pivot, because that's truly how people are successful. And it's not just today. This is the way that humans have been for thousands of years. How did we get to this place? How did we get to electricity that we're experiencing right now? As Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times in inventing the light bulb. And this lesson's not just for people that are having success today, because success can fall apart. It can be taken away. And the people that are truly successful over the long term are the ones that innovate, that are constantly testing and learning. Even if they're having success today, they're looking at, how am I going to have success a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? That's where long-lasting success comes from, because it's very easy for anybody to just go viral, but it's very hard to sustain, to continue down that path of success. And if you're interested in learning more about how to stand out in this 3-second micro-attention world that we live in, if you're looking to build your personal brand, your business, or your corporation, I suggest checking out my book, Hook Point: How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World, where I went around and I interviewed the top minds in business, e-commerce, influencers, on how they've achieved remarkable success. So I just want to say thanks so much for watching the video. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And I would love to hear from you commenting below. How are you planning on innovating? What no's have you received? And after watching this video, how do you plan to overcome those no's? So hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And I'll see you guys